Hey guys, in today's video, we're checking out the Shure SLX wireless system. This video is going to cover the wireless SLX system by Shure. It'll also cover the SLX-D model, which is their newest one. This will also apply whether you're using it with a body pack to use with a guitar or a bass, or possibly with, a Britney mic or a lavalier mic, or with a handheld microphone as well with like the SM58 or the Beta 87 or something like that. This is the fourth part in my Shure video series. In the first one, we went over the BLX. In the second one, we went over the PGX. The next one up was the GLX, and this is the next level up, which is the SLX. But I've used this in so many different situations. I've used it a lot, so I'm definitely very familiar with this system. It's a great system. So I'm going to go over the specs, the setup, how to use it, who this is for, who this is not for, and give you some recommendations to see if it's right for you. So before we get started, I post videos like this all the time, stuff on wireless, MIDI, in-ear monitors, programming, HX Stomp, finding cheap stuff on Amazon for musicians, stuff like that. If you're interested in seeing more videos like this in the future, don't forget to subscribe and don't forget to ring the bell. All right, let's get started. All right, so setup is incredibly simple on this. You just plug in the power in the back. It does ship with the standard Shure wireless power. I'm actually using something called the MyVolts Ripcord. You should check out my video I did. It actually powers your devices over USB, which is really cool, but most of you will be using this with the standard Shure power supply. Turn it on. Ready to go. If you're using this with a microphone, you go out of the XLR, you plug in an XLR cable and send that to the source that you're trying to send the signal to. If you're using this with a guitar or a bass for like a pedal board, you'll go out of the 1/4 inch into a pedal or whatever you're trying to go into. You'll be able to see what group and what channel this is transmitting on. I'm going to show you how to set that or scan in a minute. Put that on your transmitter, turn it on. If it's set to the same group and channel, group 3, channel 11, you'll see the audio bar light up, and then when you run audio to it, so I'm going to just tap on it, you see that the audio, it is getting signal. All right, so going over some of the specs. Now, I went into more details about all this stuff in my master guide of what you should look for in a wireless system. So if you haven't seen that, check it out if you want to know a little bit more detail, but this still should be able to make sense for you. So it runs off of 2 AA batteries, which gives you 8 hours of battery life, which is great. The microphone options that you get are the SM58, the SM86, the Beta 58A, and then my favorites, the Beta 87A and the Beta 87C. You're able to use up to 12 systems per band, and again, that is in the best possible conditions, and you're able to use up to 42 using multiple bands. And again, that is in the best possible environment. But you're getting up to quite a bit of wireless that you can use all at once. It does have detachable antennas, so you can use this in a rack. It does have scan and sync, so it can find the best channel really easily. You can see there's 5 different bands that you can get this in. All of them have 24 megahertz of tuning bandwidth. Again, if you didn't watch the video, that's basically the number of frequencies that you have available. The higher the tuning bandwidth, the more options you'll have for a clean signal. So for example, the G4 has 470 up to 494 megahertz. The G5 is 494 up to 518. So you can see they each have 24 megahertz bandwidth, which is great. And the range is up to about 300 feet, which is great. So the Shure SLX-D. So in the other videos, I went over like the differences because there's the Shure PGX and then the PGX-D, and then there's the GLX-D and then GLX-D Advanced. With the SLX and then went up to the SLX-D, I almost wish that they would have called it something else because I do feel like they are quite different. There's actually quite a bit difference that you get in the SLX-D. I'll cover this more a little bit later, but there's actually 44 megahertz tuning bandwidth, which gives you way more options than in this one. You also have the option to get the SLX-D with a dual receiver, which is awesome. There's a couple of things, and I will cover that in a little bit, and I might just have to do a separate video of the SLX-D in the future. All right, so some of the setups. So you can get access to the menu by hitting the menu button. You have auto channel select, group select, manual channel select, or display frequency. So go to this auto channel select, you push the button and it'll scan for the best and cleanest channel. That's how you do a scan. And then what you do on your device, so you'll turn it on. Right now this is on 311. I can either set that manually or I can open this up. You see there's a sync port right there. I can push this sync button, put them right next to each other, and you can see it is now set to 312, and they are now getting signal. You can also set the channel manually if you want. So manual channel select, so I can push that and I can cycle through. So if I wanted to go back to channel 311, where it was at, I can put it right there. And you can see the audio meter is not selected anymore because this is transmitting on 312. I do have the option of doing that in here. You hold select until it goes to the channel. It'll start blinking, and then I can manually Set that as well, let go, and it's paired. You'll see the audio meter light up when I start tapping on that again. So that's how you set the channel. But usually doing the auto channel select is a great thing to have. You have your group select. So if you want to scroll through the different groups right here, you do also have the option of displaying the frequency. So this is transmitting on 539.600 megahertz, but I usually just leave that off. That's also what's really nice about these systems is that you have a quick mute option. So you hold the button down to turn the transmitter on or off. But if you also want a quick mute, you just tap it and it turns orange and it's muted, and then tap it again and it's live. So that's good for guitar if you want to like unplug or something and switch to a different guitar. There's also the same feature on the mic. So you can see the light is green when it's on. Tap it once, it turns orange and it's muted. Tap it again and it's green. On all of the devices, you do get the battery indicator. So you can see that here on the body pack, you see the 3 bars. And on the transmitter for the microphone, you also see the 3 bars. So you see how much battery you have left. You do have indications as well on if the battery is dying. So if the light turns red, that means you need to change your battery and it's about to die, which is nice. One of the things I like the least about this actually is this is your gain control right here is in the volume knob on the back. Now the SLX-D, they changed this so you just push the button, but this thing is just a pain. So I just leave it all the way up. If you do have to change the gain, you have to put like a screwdriver in there and turn it down. Probably my least favorite thing about this, but I've just left it on all the way up and it hasn't been a problem. On the body pack, you do have this on the side. So if you do want this to be at mic level, which is what I was using this for last, was for a wedding. So the Efficient had it, so it was on mic. You can put it to 0 for guitar, or if you're getting too hot of a signal, you can set it to -10 dB. Change the gain on one of the microphones is one of the most uncomfortable things in my opinion. You have to unscrew this part right here. And then if you look, see that little switch right there? You can switch it from 0 or -10. I do wish that they made that just a little bit easier because I don't really like taking this thing off, but it's not the end of the world. So the SLX-D definitely wins for setting the gain for sure. You do also have a way to lock all these settings if you don't want them to change. Push these 2 buttons together. You see the little lock symbol jumps up, and then I can't change anything. Push them again to unlock it, and now you can start making changes from there. Same thing can be done on any of the transmitters. Hold the 2 buttons down. You see the little lock icon appear. Hold the now none of the buttons change anything, and that includes the mute and unmute, which is nice. So if I hand this to someone for speeches, sometimes they'll accidentally bump it, but then I don't have to worry about it. Push it again and unlock it. And now you have control of muting or changing the channel if you'd like. All right, so the different configurations that you have. So you can get the SLX system with a body pack. Now the body pack can be used with a guitar if you get the 1/4-inch cable with it, or it can be used with either a headset mic or used with the lavalier mic. All of those will work with the body pack. As far as with the handheld mics, you get quite a few options with this one. Standard SM58, SM86, the Beta 58A, the Beta 87A, and the Beta 87C, which again, the 87C is what I use for my voice. If you do get the SLX-D, it has the optional KSM8. I'm a fan of it. I have just gotten used to using the 87C personally, but the KSM is a great system. Okay, so the SLX versus the SLX-D. I mentioned it earlier that I almost wish that when they came out with the SLX-D, they just renamed it something else because there's so many different things that it does that I feel like it should be its own thing. So I'm going to try to go over the details as much as possible. However, I would just say that if you can get the SLX-D, get the SLX-D. There's just so many other things that it can do. I found this online about the difference if you want to pause it and you can read it here. But the SLX is an analog, the SLX-D is a digital. They both are fine. I'm not an analog versus digital guy. They're both fantastic. That might matter to you. The biggest thing is that the tuning bandwidth on the SLX is 24 megahertz. So you have 24 different megahertz of range of different channels that you can find a clear signal for. With the SLX-D, they've upped that to 44 megahertz. That's a lot. They've given you a lot for that. And therefore you can use more of these at once. There's more channels to find and there's more options available. You do also get an optional lithium ion rechargeable battery, which is awesome because that'll actually give you even more information about it and exactly how much battery life is left as opposed to just bars. The thing that I love is that the SLX-D comes with a dual channel receiver, which is awesome because then it only takes up, 1 rack space and you don't have to get any antenna combiners or anything like that. I really like that. Something else that the SLX-D does is it has an Ethernet port, which you can use for like, if you're doing way more advanced stuff like figuring out the cleanest channel and stuff like that. But it's also possible to do a firmware update with that. The SLX does not have that option. It's really cool that you can update the firmware if they find ways to make it better. So in my opinion, if you can afford it, just get the SLX-D. It is a better product than the SLX. And I say that as someone who has 4 transmitters for his SLX system. So as far as pricing, when you look at with mics or lavalier mics or headset mics, it mostly just depends on which microphone you get. So for the Shure SM58, that one is $600. If you get up to something like the Beta 87, that's about $730. If you're looking at one with just the guitar, that's going to run you about $550 up to about $600. Now this is the thing, is that Shure has actually discontinued the SLX. So as time goes on, it depends on when you're watching this video, but the SLX-D is what they're switching over to. So the reason why I've included this, besides the fact that I have the SLX and not the SLX-D, is that you might be able to find cheaper pricing on a used one, or there's still sites like Amazon and stuff like that that have the old analog SLX system. So it really just depends on your budget, and I'm just trying to give you all the options that you can have to make the decision that's best for you. But then if you look, basically upgrading to the SLX-D is only about $100 more. So with the SM58 mic, that's a $700 system as opposed to the SLX, which is currently $600. Same thing with like the Beta 87A. Currently, at the time of this video, it's $730. If you get the SLX-D with the 87, that's going to run you about $840. So it's about $100 more to get the digital one. So getting it with the guitar system is going to run you about $650, which again, you usually can find that about $550. So it's only going to cost you about $100 more. To me, it's absolutely worth it to get that SLX-D, in my opinion. The thing that's also really cool that I love about this is it does have the dual system. So especially if you're going to rack this up, I mean, it's just a no-brainer. If you're going to use 2 of the systems, 2 or more, definitely get the dual system. So I'll post links to all of those down below. And also just FYI, if you do decide to buy any of these using any of my links in the description down below, they aren't Amazon affiliate links. So it doesn't cost you anything and does help out my channel a little bit. So I would appreciate that. If you do decide to buy these based on my recommendation, is just a simple way to help me out. All right, so my experience with these. All right, so I've used this system a bunch. Obviously, like I said, I have 4 different configurations for it. I use it for speeches at weddings with the body pack. I'll use it for guitar sometimes. Normally I use my Sennheiser, which I did a video on because it's a portable system, but I still use this one for guitar. It's my main vocal mic for singing, and then I use another one for when my wife sings. First of all, I'm going to say, if you can afford it, definitely get the SLX-D. It's definitely worth it for all those extra features for only another $100. So from $600 to about $700, that's worth the price increase for me personally. Now, to me, there's hobby players and there's professional players. To me, I almost feel like this price point is like just too expensive for hobby and too cheap for a professional player. I almost think that you should just spend, about $300 for a good system like the Shure BLX if you're more of a hobby player, and there's less than 5 wireless on the stage at once. And I almost feel like you should go up to the next level, which is the QLX, which is my next video in the video series, if you're a professional player. As someone who uses this system and uses it a lot, I almost wish that I just went up and just got the QLX or at least the SLX-D. Personally, having said that, this is a great system and I still recommend it. So there is a market for this. However, if you're a professional and you really want a high-end one, I think QLX is going to run you about $1,000 for, let's just say with either the guitar or the SM58. That is a bigger price increase. That's about another $300 to $400. So if that is a deal breaker for you, then completely get the SLX. There's not a problem with it. It is a great system. However, for me, I've just over the years of playing music, I've found just, getting that next level up, saving up for, a little bit longer and getting that next level up is usually worth it. But again, SLX is still a great system and it is the main system that I use. Just my 2 cents on it. So I hope this helped you guys out. I hope that made sense. If you guys made it to the end of this video, hitting the like button would be a huge help to me. It does a lot to please the YouTube algorithm gods, recommend my video on my channel to more people. So I'd really appreciate it. Don't forget to check out my other Shure wireless that I've reviewed. I've done the BLX, the PGX, the GLX, and now the SLX, and I am going to do the QLX, the ULX-D, as well as the Axient system. So be sure to subscribe if you want to see those videos in the future. Check out some of my other videos by clicking some of the links on the screen now, some wireless, some in-ear monitors if you're interested in that, all the different Shure products. So be sure to check those out if you're interested in seeing those. Thank you guys again for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.